So 2023 was a great year for the UFC. We had plenty of exciting fights, great pay-per-view cards, great fight nights, really crazy upset wins. Fighters had amazing years, but some fighters didn't have the most amazing year. So in this video today, I will be going through my biggest winners and losers of 2023's, which fighters have had the best year and which fighters have had the worst year. I will be ranking my top 4 guys in each category with a few honorable mentions mixed in. So let's not waste any more time. You understand the video. Let's dive into my biggest winners and losers of 2023. So starting off with my biggest losers of 2023, my first honorable mention belongs to Ian Garry. Now, the reason why Ian Garry doesn't crack the top 4 list was because in the octagon this year, he had a fantastic year. Let's be honest here, beating Neil Magny. I believe he beat Song Kanan this year and D-Rod maybe. I don't know. I think he fought 3 times this year. But securing 3 wins in pretty much dominant fashion outside that one punch that Song Kanan landed, he has looked good in the octagon. He has looked like a top 5, a potential champion in welterweight. He's looked good. But at the end of the year, man, everybody turned on Ian Garry. Nobody likes Ian Garry. The whole Neil Magny situation really rubbed people the wrong way. And then him and his wife has really rubbed people the wrong way. And now he is definitely one of the most hated fighters in the UFC right now. I think 95% of fans dislike Ian Garry. Let's be honest here. Ian Garry right now is going through it. So that's why I can't really put him in the top 4 of this list, because he's had such a great year in the octagon. But outside of it, man, it sucks really bad for Ian Garry. But moving on to my other honorable mention, we have Rob Font. Now, Rob Font actually had a great start to the year. He beat Adrian Yanez, but after that, he lost to Corey Sandhagen by a very boring decision where he got out-grappled for the entirety of the 5 rounds. Looked no good, had no takedown defense. He looked very rough in that fight, and then got beat by Davison Figueiredo, 30-27. Got pretty much out-grappled there as well. So Rob Font didn't have the best year in 2023, but, you know, he beat Adrian Yanez, man. Got a good KO there, so that's something. But now let's dive into my top 4 biggest losers of 2023. Starting off with, we have one that really pains me to talk about right now. It's Alexander Volkanovski, man. He didn't have the best year. Volkanovski coming into this year was, I think, pound for pound number 1, and now he's not really top 2, top 3 now. I think he's top number 3. He was coming in arguably the best fighter in the UFC right now, but now he's taking a step back. And it sucks because even after losing to Islam in that first fight, his stock went up. People still liked Volkanovski. People thought he won that fight. He had a whole crowd behind him, a whole country behind him after losing to Islam. And then after that, he came out and he beat Yair Rodriguez by TKO. This guy was on pace for having a really crazy year, still pound for pound number 1 at the time. And then it all comes crashing down and he gets head kick KO'd by Islam in the rematch. It sucks. I hate it. But the reason why I'm putting Volk on this list was because that head kick KO might just change the rest of his career. He might not ever be the same ever again. He might lose to Ilia Topuria. He's aging in his career. He failed at becoming a double champion. It sucks. He's 36 years old. What's going to happen to Volk now? I don't know. It tarnishes his legacy, man. In terms of, just an average fighter year, Volk had a good year. But in terms of building that legacy and accomplishing the goals that Volk wanted to accomplish, he failed this year, man. And it sucks to say. It really does suck to say. I really wanted Volk to become double champion. He's one of my more favorite fighters on the roster right now, but it sucks, man. That KO, I think, has legitimately put us in the age of Alexander Volkanovski's downfall. And I don't want to talk about it, please. But moving on up the list to the number 3 spot, this fighter also had a pretty sucky year, a pretty crappy year, and that is Beneil Dariush. Beneil Dariush, to start the year, was originally supposed to fight Islam Makhachev for, I think, the number 1 contenders matchup to fight Oliveira at the time, or was that last year? I don't know. But he was set up pretty well to succeed and eventually become or get a title shot in the lightweight division, but it never happened. Because guess what? He got Oliveira first off. Then Oliveira got hurt, so the fight got delayed, and then he fought Oliveira, and then Oliveira put him down in that first round and pretty much, I'm not going to say embarrassed him, but made him look pretty silly. And then after that, he took some time off and fought Sarukian towards the end of the year, and then got one punch KO'd by Sarukian. He was one win away from a title shot, maybe arguably even deserved a title shot, and then all this happens and it all comes crashing down. And he was what, like number 3, number 2 at lightweight. Now he's what, like number 5, 6. It's pretty tough sledding for Beneil Dariush right now. He was so close, man, but now he's so far away. And I don't think he'll ever get another title shot ever again. I think his career is pretty much done. I think he's, what, 34, 35 years old right now. He's getting up there in age at lightweight. It's tough, man. It sucks for Beneil Dariush. He comes in at number 3 on my biggest losers of 2023. But now we have to move on up to number 2. And number 2, we have Colby Covington. All my homies hate Colby Covington. This guy doesn't fight in the first place. I think he, took 2 years off. Then he comes out and he fights Leon Edwards, gets absolutely blessed by the MMA gods to get a title shot against Leon Edwards. And what does he do? How does he repay the MMA gods? He does nothing for 5 rounds, absolutely not shit, and then has the audacity, has the gall to act like he won that fight, to get up in the 5th round and cheer himself on like, yeah, get hyped. No, you clearly lost 4 rounds to 1, maybe 3 rounds to 2 if you want to argue it, but you clearly lost the fight, and then you want to act like it was a robbery after the fact? Are you crazy? You called out Leon Edwards' dad, made fun of him, and then you want to sit here and call out the fans and call them broke bitches? What are you doing, Colby? You lost your entire fan base, and not only did you contribute to one of the worst cards of the year, you just pretty much ended your career and made everybody hate you as well. It was a crazy bad year for Colby Covington. I don't feel bad for him. He comes at number 2. Luckily, he should be number 1 in my opinion, but yeah, whatever. Colby, you have lost a lot of fans and let down the entire fan base and the UFC as well. But now the moment you've all been waiting for, the biggest loser of 2023. This fighter has had the worst year this year, and that is Israel Adesanya. Now, I'll preface it with this real quick. Adesanya actually had a great start to the year. He KO'd Alex Pereira, got his belt back. Great job. A round of applause for Israel Adesanya. But after that, pretty much everything went straight downhill for Israel Adesanya, because if you don't remember what happened after that, he got into the octagon after Dricus Du Plessis pulled off one of the biggest upsets of the year against Robert Whittaker. He hops into the octagon and starts calling him a bunch of slurs and then the whole African thing, and that pretty much got people against Adesanya right then and there. It was a big topic, a big story. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I've made plenty of videos detailing it, so go check those out. But the whole Dricus beef kind of stirred the pot, kind of got things rolling, got to a nice slight boil like you should have your pasta when you make it. But Dricus was injured, and then he has to fight Sean Strickland, and this is where all the dog stuff comes up. Adesanya got exposed for all the weird, questionable antics that he did with his dog. I won't detail it because I don't want this video to get demonetized. But if you know, you know. All that dog shit that came out about Adesanya didn't look good. Definitely a massive L. And Sean Strickland not only called him out for the dog stuff, but then he absolutely embarrassed him throughout 5 rounds, dropping him in the first round and then completely piecing him up for the next 4. Definitely one of the biggest upsets of the year, and it really hurt the ego of Adesanya. If you don't know, after that fight, he was pretty much begging Sean Strickland to not call him out, to not say anything dirty about his dog, put him aside and was like, please don't mention my dog, I beg you. Completely coped and shelled up against Sean Strickland, and it just didn't look good. And then to end the year off, he decides to get a DUI, getting pulled over for drinking and driving. And just like, what are you doing, man? Adesanya made so many headlines this year, man. Crazy. I made a ton of Adesanya content, definitely benefited from it. But man, it was more so negative than good things about Adesanya this year, and he lost his belt by embarrassment. Matter of fact, he was so embarrassed by his loss, he said he wasn't going to fight anymore, that he's going to sit out for like till 2027, which is not the case. I think he's fighting at 300 or he's going to be fighting soon. He announced his comeback, which was only 3 months. I don't know what he's doing, but this man was actually so embarrassed that he was like, I'm not going to fight for like 4 years. It was that bad. But overall, really not the best year at all for Adesanya. Coming in at number 1, he has had the worst year in 2023, in my opinion. Now, let's move on to something more positive in this video. Let's move on to the biggest winners of 2023. Starting off with some honorable mentions, we have Sean O'Malley. Great year. Wasn't really too active. That's why he's not in the top 4 of this list. He beat Aljamain Sterling. Great win. Great KO win. But overall, other than that, man, it just wasn't too much to Sean O'Malley. I mean, getting the belt is a great accomplishment, but that's really all he did. And he kind of got, what's the right word, sugar-coated, got kind of, helped to the belt, got really good matchups for himself. He beat Petr Yan, great, but, the UFC made Aljamain Sterling turn around really quickly while he was probably going to be hurt. The UFC knew what they were doing. They were definitely trying to pander O'Malley into getting that belt over Sterling, and they got what they wanted. Can't really fault O'Malley too much for that. He's just trying to get the belt, but again, is he one of the biggest winners of 2023? Yeah, but is he top 4? Nah. And now my other honorable mention, we have Ilia Topuria. He only fought once this year, so that ducks him some points. You can't only fight once a year and then expect to be on Kindle MMA's biggest winner video, but he beat Josh Emmett, great win, and he has solidified himself as that next title challenger for that featherweight belt. Everything kind of went well for Ilia Topuria this year, man. Let's be honest here. If Volkanovski won that belt against Islam, he might have been forced to sit out on the sidelines and might have not had his opportunity to get his title shot. But luckily, everything went into his favor, and now he's fighting Volkanovski, I believe, at 297. I don't remember exactly which one, but he's fighting Volkanovski for that belt, and so it's been a great year for Topuria. Not the best year, obviously, but a great year. Now it's time to dive in to my biggest winners of 2023, my top 4 guys. Starting off with, we have DDP, Dricus Du Plessis, the man himself. Dude honestly had an amazing year, beating Robert Whittaker by crazy second-round TKO upset. Again, one of the biggest upsets of the year. Does earn you some plus points. He actually started out the year beating Derek Brunson, but TKO'd him, then came out, TKO'd Whittaker, and now he's set in stone to fight Sean Strickland, which is now a super hyped title fight. They have really hyped this thing up, man. If you didn't watch the 2024 season opener press conference, whatever it's called, they had a great back and forth, a lot of trash talk. If you don't know, you've been not watching UFC for the past 2 weeks, but right now, all eyes are on DDP and Sean Strickland, and it's been a great year for him. Amazing year. One thing I really do respect about DDP right now is the fact that when he was originally supposed to fight Israel Adesanya later this year, but they wanted him to come in just right after he beat Robert Whittaker. But he said, no, my foot's injured. I can't come around in 8 weeks. I want to heal up, get ready, and just do the title shot on my own terms and not get fucked over by the UFC. He bet on himself this year and he won. So I respect that. Not letting the UFC screw you over or fighting on short notice when you're not ready or injured. That's always a really risky move. But DDP bet on himself this year and he won, and it's been a great year for him. But moving on up the list to number 3, we have Tom Aspinall, good old Tommy Boy Aspinall, comeback of the year, comeback fighter of the year. In the NFL, they have comeback player of the year. If the UFC does the same thing, Aspinall definitely deserves comeback fighter of the year, man. I mean, he tore his ACL last year. I think it's Curtis Blades. Came back this year, beat Marcin Tybura, and then he KO'd Sergey Pavlovich for the interim belt. Man's having a crazy year. What more can you really ask from Aspinall to come back and just put it on people and get the interim belt? The reason why he can't be any higher on this list is because the fact that we don't know where his future is just yet. Will he fight John Jones? Will he fight Stipe? Who knows? The UFC might just skip over him entirely and just make him fight Cyril Gane. I don't know what's going on with Tom Aspinall and what the UFC plans for him, but I really don't know what the UFC has planned for him, but hopefully they give him John Jones once he gets healthy. But Tom Aspinall, not much to say. Great year, amazing year, comeback fighter of the year, in my opinion. That award goes to him if I could give him an award. Now, moving on to number 2 on my list. Number 1 and number 2 are kind of interchangeable. You can argue number 2 can be number 1, and you can argue number 1 can be number 2, but I'm putting Islam Makhachev here. There's not much to say about this, man. Beat Volk twice. I know the first one was kind of iffy, but he's now kind of put himself in that lightweight GOAT status, in my opinion. If he gets one more win, I think he is no doubt the lightweight GOAT, and he surpasses Khabib in that way. Pound for pound, number one. I mean, what more can you ask from Islam this year, man? The guy's had an amazing year. I think he will win Fighter of the Year for that little award ceremony that they do. For sure, beating Volk twice has earned him that. So Islam Makhachev, definitely Fighter of the Year and arguably number one on having the best year in 2023. For me, it's just like a little slight edge to number one, which we're going to get into right now. Now, the absolute moment you've all been waiting for, number one, who has had the best year in 2023, the biggest winner of 2023 belongs to, drumroll please, I'm kidding, Sean Strickland. And let's not even talk about Israel Adesanya. Let's not even talk about him in DDP. Let's talk about him at the very beginning of the year, coming in on less than a week's notice and fighting Nasruddin Imavov and whooping him for 5 rounds. I'll even repeat myself. He came in at the beginning of the year, fought Nasruddin Imavov on less than a week's notice and beat him throughout 5 rounds. And after that, he fought Abis Magomedov, which to me is a lose-lose fight for him. If he beats Abis, then guess what? He gets nothing. If he loses to Abis, then he loses everything. Those 2 fights were incredibly risky, and Strickland passed with flying colors against both. And then he came out, and obviously he embarrassed Israel Adesanya, made him look silly, dropped him in the first round. Mentioned it before. He's now a huge name in the UFC. He's getting a lot of attention, a lot of headlines, man. He's had a great year from a guy who was kind of, I wouldn't say a nobody, but people weren't really too focused on Sean Strickland, but now everybody's talking about him. He has had the biggest jump this year by far, by a mile. Everybody knows who Sean Strickland is now. They know his personality. They know he's crazy. And to me, that deserves him to be the biggest winner of 2023. So that's it. That's my list. Sean Strickland coming in at number one as the biggest winner of 2023. If you enjoyed this video, like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon for notifications. I appreciate you guys. If you got this far into the video, it means a lot to me. But if you so happen to disagree with my list, leave me a comment down below. Maybe you do agree. So leave me a comment down below and let me know your opinion in that comment section. I'm out of here, guys. Peace. Have a great Christmas. Happy holidays.